When the travelers reached the forest, they were all tired and hungry. The fox, the leopard, and the vulture looked at the camel. Then they looked at each other and smiled hungry smiles. They had brought the camel for the king's dinner. Now it was time for the feast. The Lion King knew what his courtiers were thinking. He called the camel to him. "Friend camel," he said, "I have to thank you for saving my life. You are welcome to live at my court as long as you like. I promise you my protection." The lion's courtiers were shocked. Had they not risked their lives so that he could try camel meat? And the king wanted to let the camel live. The courtiers were not pleased with his decision, yet they could do nothing. Now the lion's paws were so badly burnt that he could not go hunting. But that did not keep him from growing very hungry indeed. "Fox, leopard, vulture," he shouted, "don't you see that I am ill and hungry? Go and get me some food." The courtiers had to obey the king, so out they went. But they did not go far. They sat down in a safe place and discussed what they could do. "I know," said the fox after a while. "We shall make the camel ask to be eaten." He told the others of his plan. They all agreed, so back they went to the king. First, the vulture stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing low, "we have found no food, but we cannot let your Majesty suffer. I am a poor creature. Eat me." The fox pushed the vulture aside. "I have more meat on me," he cried. "Eat me, your Majesty." Now the leopard rushed forward. "I am not much good," he cried, "but I could make a meal for the king." The camel listened to all these offers. He must do as much, he thought. "Your Majesty," he said, "I too am willing to give my life for you. Please eat me instead of these old friends of yours who will be more useful than I am." This was what the fox, the leopard, and the vulture were waiting for. They prepared to jump at the camel, but the lion stopped them. "You are all good and loyal subjects," he said. "My heart is touched by your offers. I accept them all. I shall eat you in the order in which you offered yourselves." The vulture, the fox, and the leopard were shocked. Away flew the vulture, away ran the fox and the leopard. They were never seen in the forest again. The lion laughed to see them go. Then he turned to the camel and said, "You have been very loyal and good. You shall be my friend as long as we are alive." The camel was happy and grateful. The lion thought to himself, "To be king is good, but to be kind is better." Unit 1. The story begins with the lion who is the king of the jungle, and as expected, all the other animals bow down to the king and live in fear and awe of him. The king decides to have a court and appoints the following as his courtiers: a fox as an advisor, a leopard as a bodyguard, and a vulture as a messenger. Each of them agreed to be loyal and fulfill their responsibility. They never opposed or went against the king, but obeyed the king's every request. In return, they were provided with food and protection. Meanings: fierce, violent or aggressive. Advisor, guide. Your Majesty, formal address to a king. Bowing low, stooping or acting in a humble way. Oath, a pledge or a promise. Loyalty, faithfulness. In awe, in wonder. Give two qualities of each of the following: king, just, impartial; advisor, wise, insightful; bodyguard, brave, fearless; messenger, swift, punctual. What is an oath of loyalty? A pledge or a formal promise made by someone to be loyal and faithful to somebody or something. What did the king promise the courtiers? The king promised the courtiers food and protection in return for their service. This unit begins with the vulture bringing news of a lone camel that it had seen in the desert and enticing the others to venture out of the forest and into the desert to eat the camel. He also lured them, saying that a camel's meat was very tasty. The lion and his courtiers decide to go, and they followed the vulture's directions. It was very hot in the desert, and very soon the fiery hot and scorching heat began to take its toll. The lion could not stand it any longer, as the hot sand had burned his paws. He commanded them to return back to the cool of the forest. Unit 2. Meanings: lone, solitary or only one; opinion, judgment or advice. Why was the vulture told to lead the way? Answer: it was the vulture who had brought the news of the lone camel. The others had never ventured out of the forest. The fox and the leopard did not know anything about the desert, and therefore the vulture was told to lead the way. Why had the lion never seen a camel before? Answer: the lion lived in the jungle and the camel in the desert. They both lived in different habitats. The lion had never been to the desert. That is why he had never seen a camel before. In this unit, the lion orders his courtiers to return back to the forest as he is not able to bear his burning paws. The clever fox thinks of a plan and off he goes to find the camel. He convinces the camel to return with him. The lion and the others were surprised and pleased with the fox. The camel agrees to serve the lion and they set off on the long journey back to the forest. Unit 3. Meanings: frightened, to be afraid of. Why does the fox address the camel as friend camel? Answer: animals like the camel, who are docile and meek, will surely get frightened of a jungle animal like the fox. In order to win the trust of the camel and to entice the camel to follow him without getting afraid, the fox addresses the camel as friend camel.